Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Okay, I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is doing good this winter. It's very cold in South Africa. Much better actually today. Okay, so I think we'll just allow time for people to join about 5 minutes, and then we'll move straight into it. Okay. Good morning. If you've joined, we're just giving some time, some few minutes really, just for everyone to hop in and so that nobody gets left behind in this moving train. Please say hi, good morning if you've hopped on. Okay. Let us know where you're joining from, how your weather is. Okay. Good morning, Thompson. Good morning, good morning. How are you doing? How's the weather? Are you in Zambia? Are you in Zimbabwe? Are you in Botswana? Please let us know where you're joining from, and just to maximize engagement. Good morning, Mulea. Okay, so 2 more minutes before we start, just to allow people to join in. Please, as soon as you hop on the line, let me know how you are doing, where you're joining from, and how your weather is. Okay. Okay. Counting down, counting down, counting down. Okay. How is the weather on your part of the planet Earth? Is it warm? Is it cold? Thank you, Molea. Okay, so we have Lusaka in the house, in the building. We have Zambia in the house. I'm seeing that it's quite cold. Okay. Hi, good morning, Maria. Where are you joining us from? Oh, welcome from South Africa, Venus. Good morning, Dr. Ruth. Okay, Ibex in the house. Hi, good morning, Rebecca. Ooh, we have Uganda representing. Okay, I think we're just about good to go now. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lungile, and I will just be sharing a few soul nuggets for this morning on this show called Prosperity for Your Soul. Okay, good morning, Rebecca. Okay, we also see Maria from Lusaka in the house. Thank you, everyone. And I'm glad that everyone is good. No complaints noted thus far, even on the chat. So this morning we're really going to talk a little bit about just the importance of keeping a clear vessel, okay? And that vessel is your soul, okay? And I know that, this may sound a little bit, in the air, a bit, up in the clouds. Like some of you may be asking even right now, what is a clear vessel? So I'd like to explain, right? There's this analogy that helps me understand this so well. Okay, so we know in our homes we have like running taps. We have running taps. We have like piping that stretches all the way. Going down to wherever your source of, I guess, water collection is from. Be it a dam in South Africa, especially where I am in Joburg, we get our water from the Val Dam. Okay, so for example, right, there are all these possibilities, all this wealth of, I guess, potential that you possess, all this wealth of potential that you possess as an individual. Okay, be it, you know what you've been called for on this planet. You know what your assignment and your mandate is, and you know exactly what your gifts and talents are. Okay, so we'll say those are the Val Dam for me. I don't know what your source is, but I'll call it the Val Dam. Okay, and then there's the piping, right? So the piping is like the soul. Okay, so the soul is where the water from the Val Dam needs to pass through in order to reach the tap, so that the use that we use water for, obviously in our homes, washing, doing all things for, can be used. Okay, so like I mentioned, the similarities, will say that our tap, right? So the tap is the impact. Okay, the tap is the actual work, the evidence of this potential that you carry. Okay, so for example, okay, we all know if there's anything wrong, if there's anything wrong in the pipes. Good morning, Sylvia. Good morning, Lukundo. If there's anything wrong with the pipes, for example, there are some leakages due to some tearing of any sort, or maybe there's like, a collection of dirt in those, how can I put it? Yeah, in the pipes. Then we know that the water from the source where it's coming from, it's gonna have a problem reaching the tap. Okay, so like we said, this piping is our soul. Okay, so the things that can clog up our soul to prevent us from reaching, our full potential, that prevent us from, I guess, really impacting change and bringing about change in this planet, and just society in general, are issues like, I can say, for example, anger. So anger, I would actually put anger as like a dirt pulp. So things such as anger and unforgiveness are things that really clog up, this piping that is the soul, that is the vessel of your life, upon which your great potential needs to flow through in order for impact to really be felt. Okay, and there are things also such as like, we know that the pipe can sometimes also be torn, and because of that, we may notice that there are some leakages and so forth, and I will actually liken the tearing of the piping to things such as trauma, hurt and woundedness, and, all sorts of things that just really cause us to, reach a very low point, be it from offense. That's a very big one. And just things like that. Okay, so logic tells us that if we don't deal with those things, then we're really not going to reach our full potential. Actually, I think just a little nugget there, the word trauma is actually taken from a Latin word meaning wound or a cut. So, we often think of cuts being very physical. You can see it, you're bleeding there on your arm, something cut you. And so just as that can happen at like a flesh physical level, so too can that also happen in your soul. And you actually bleed. Okay. And you don't need to be a medical doctor or a nurse to know that if you don't treat a wound, if you don't take care of it, it's going to get infected, and you just going to bleed. sometimes if the wound is deep enough and the bleeding is a lot, then people actually die from hemorrhaging or bleeding, so it's the same thing. So I would like us just to zoom in very deeply and closely into these factors, just like this morning as we are talking about them. So factors such as trauma, I want us to really, really think about that, because it's a big one. I think this one more so because trauma, like an infection can be transmissible. It can be like somebody has flu, I cough, and somebody's immune system is also weak. That person can catch the flu. Or even, I'm pregnant, for example, and perhaps there's, there are some, I guess, there are some infections that can impact the baby that I'm carrying in my womb, indirectly, so even though sometimes it's not directly. So trauma, again, going back to it, as we did mention that it's a wound, trauma can be transmissible. And I think the very icky part about it is that it is transmissible across generations. So I don't know how many of us have heard of something called transgenerational trauma. So that's like if your great granddad or mother had a certain wound, then actually if they did not deal with it, you can find yourself bearing some implications because of that 3 generations later. So can you imagine that, not dealing with these soul matters, these soul issues, not only affect us directly from fulfilling our mandates, our full potentials, but they actually impact generations down the line. So you not fulfilling your mandate today because of trauma will affect your great grandchild at some point, and because of that they too will find themselves not being able to maximize their full potential and to actually fulfill it if they themselves don't confront the matter and deal with it. And can you imagine that, say they do finally get to that point of dealing with the issues that they are carrying in their in their systems, in their genes. Yeah, it would have taken them a long time and a lot of work. So if we had to compare this child now, okay, and put them on a pedestal with another child who their parents, great grandparents dealt with certain issues, um, this child will have a greater advantage in life, the one whose parents or great grandparents actually dealt with the issue, because they would have time on their hands. They would not spend that much of time attending to, we have at Project Life Design amazing offerings that are there either through NLP training and life coaching sessions, and also training yourself to be a practitioner as well. So there are these offerings that are available today, but can you imagine if I didn't have so much to deal with? It would have taken me less time. I probably would have just like, no, I don't need to deal with this, and that. I just, probably have to look at, out of 5 things, just one thing, and then I can go on and start practicing. So that is the challenge that I am posing to us who are on the call today. And I know I spoke about pregnancy. I cannot not speak about pregnancy because I'm a midwife, and I have a very big heart for generations and women. And I know I'm talking about midwifery, and I'm talking about women, and I'm talking about children, but this does not leave the men on the call out of these matters, because you also play a very huge role in this as well. Okay, so I'm going to pop another nugget, okay? Just similar to what we had just spoken about. Okay, so we have something in I guess this phenomenon is across disciplines. It's used in psychology, it's used in medicine, it's used in social development and so forth, because it's so crucial. Like everybody's just talking about it now. and thinking about it a little bit deeper, even as we plan for the future of our nations, and that phenomenon is actually called the first 1,000 days of life. Okay. So this is a time from a child's conception, so right from conception, day one of conception, the time when that egg and that sperm come together to form this zygote, okay, of this life form that we now see growing in the belly and becoming a fully fleshed human being, like how I'm seeing myself on this camera screen right now. Okay, so it's the first day is counted from that first day of conception, right up until the child's second birthday. Okay, so up until the child reaches the age of 2 or 24 months. Okay, so this is a very important window in a child's life. Extremely important, because a lot of the development takes place during this time. A lot of the child's neural networks, in the mind happen around this time, and the child really just gets primed to becoming, the kind of human being they will grow up into, or rather adult, okay, in the later years of the child's life. So basically what I'm saying is that whatever happens to a child during these first 1,000 days of life is extremely important. They shape the kind of individual that this child will become. Okay, so actually it was noted that moms who have who experience certain, I guess, stressful moments during their pregnancies, or even traumatic moments that even affect, even, I guess, even when the child gets born, it affects how the child bonds with the mother, and also how the likelihood of the child being breastfed. Okay, so children who are come from parents or from moms who had gone through something like this have a higher likelihood of developing conditions such as obesity later in life. So who would have known that these burdens of diseases that we are seeing today are actually stemming back from, the first 1,000 days of life. So if we take a look at our lives today, we are, I see on the call, a lot of us come from Southern Africa and Central Africa. I saw someone on the line as well from that part of the world. So meaning we, considering our history as a people, as nations, as a continent, we have a common denominator of having, a colonial past. I know in my country, South Africa, we have, most of us know, we went through a time, we coined it apartheid. And it ended, about 30 years ago, which is fairly recent, actually. So we are a very young, independent country, to put it. So I think with that in mind, especially, thinking about all the things, the kind of things, the turmoil that used to happen even during that time, a lot of our parents today are, they have gone through, because of just that, have gone through one, I guess, traumatic experience, or even more, one or another, So I think just with that common denominator, I would say that us even seated and gathered in this room today have, I guess, trauma, at least, to really introspect on today, and really just deal with it. Okay, so probably a lot of us are maybe asking even right now, how do I, what are the steps? How do I go about doing this? How do I go about healing? How do I go about even identifying some things that are really just pointing me towards the fact that perhaps I may be traumatized directly or indirectly, and I think one thing that I am super grateful for, especially in this community, in this network that really brought us here. I know a lot of us are part of Project Life Design. I love even the name. It's like Project Life Design. So like it just gives it away. It gives what the organization is about. It just gives it away. So Project Life Design has like amazing, amazing offerings, of which we did touch on shortly, just after starting this talk, and we just, I guess, are so fortunate to be a part of like this community, where there are resources at our disposal, such as, I know there are, like a series of programs that will be starting soon, where we are taught on life mastery. Like we also mentioned the programs, the training programs on neuro-linguistic programming. There's also life coaching, So for starters, if you are just thinking about it, that like, where can I go? How do I go about this? Then, that's step one. Okay. And, I think like we did mention that analogy of the dam and the pipes and the tap, this is just, I guess, like us, as we are very, I believe a lot of us even on this call are very driven, very ambitious, and people really who are wanting to make the most out of life and fulfill whatever assignments and mandates that we had been given by God here to fulfill on this planet. So, like we did mention that with this pipe, this vessel that is our soul, if it's clogged up by things, if there's things like trauma, the wounds, then the water from the dam won't really flow and reach the destination that it ought to reach, such as the tap, the place of impact, the place of potential maximized, the place of mandates fulfilled, and just living out purpose. So that's just something to keep in mind. And also, I think for all the moms on the line, all the moms to be on the line, of course I'm a midwife, of course I'll say this. Please, now for those first 1,000 days of life, you know what to do. Okay, and also the dads, all right? So we're not leaving anyone behind in this train, okay? The dad. So the first 1,000 days of life, rather, that this is a time to just really be well, okay. There's something called preconception health in the medical field. So it's like, if you would want to have a child, there's I guess a time that you can take out to just attend to your health, okay. I know some of these things just happen, but just for information's sake, there is something like that, called in many health programs, facilities, there are trained people who actually are able to help a woman, a couple, go through this time of preconception, just helping you, I guess, prepare for this life that you will be bringing into this earth. Okay, so that you are well and healthy in all spheres of your life. I love to think of health as a bio, psychosocial, spiritual phenomenon. Okay, so health for me is not just, hey, there's a virus, there's a bacteria that I'm fighting right now. Let me get antibiotics. No, for me, when I look at health, I look at it holistically. Okay, it's like, okay, so you have this virus that is infecting you right now, but this also points to a point that you also are compromised in some way. Your immune system is a bit compromised, okay? And that's why this virus in the first place managed to infect you, okay? And there are various reasons why someone's immune system can be compromised, for example. And one thing that we don't dismiss when looking at this beyond the biomedical stuff, okay, is also stress, because stress is a legitimate condition that can compromise your immune system, okay? And also we think about what are the factors that make you stressed in the first place, okay? And beyond that, what support, what social networks do you have, what anchors you? Do you have, I guess, do you have a place where you are fed? You know, because we work, we go about doing life, and I know I spoke about fulfilling purpose and maximizing potential. And you know that all requires energy. Okay, so for energy to be used, it means that there needs to be energy that gets, you know, put back into the body. All right. So I'll then ask you, like, do you have a place of replenishment? You know, are you, how's your relationship with God, for example? You know, do you go to church? Do you, you know, how, what does your spiritual life look like, basically? You know, because those are the factors that help us replenish, so that we don't get burnt out as we go about these things. So okay, not to divert further, uh health is the biopsychosocial phenomenon. Okay, so, pregnant mommies or mommies who are planning to get pregnant, it is important to just be well during this time. Get your coping mechanisms in order, because this doesn't mean that stressful situations won't happen in life. But what does matter is how you go about coping with them, you know? So we have things called coping mechanisms. So it's, you know, things that we need to equip ourselves with, and just, yeah, go about them in a healthy way. Okay, so that the life that we are planning to bring on this planet, it really affects, you know, the I guess the shaping of nations as well. You know, as we know that story, the famous story of Moses, uh, and how Moses was a leader. You know, he was the chosen liberator for the children of Israel. However, you know, Moses had a soul issue. You know, Moses actually had anger problems, and that did not just happen. It's not something that just happened to him. You know, or developed in his adulthood. It stems back from, you know, what his mom went through. You know, as we read the Bible, for those of us who are Christian in this space and who read the Bible, we see that, oh my goodness, Leah was actually a woman who was very stressed. She was stressed even when she was pregnant, you know, with his son Levi, for example, which is the tribe that Moses comes from. So she was very stressed. She was very, I guess, she felt very rejected, and all sorts of depressive, you know, emotions were characteristic of, you know, this woman. So we see that, okay, this thing that Moses had, which is what prevented him from entering the promised land, is something that stems back from way back. So I guess this is just a point that I'm trying to bring on this platform, to say that if we don't deal with certain things, it will affect generations down the line. So yeah, I think I will just pause at this point, and we have a minute remaining. So I don't know if anyone has questions quickly before we call it a morning. Before we call it a morning, does anyone have questions? Does anyone have any, like, I guess, comments? What stood out for you? Yeah, so you can always just drop it on the comment section, or for those of us who are on Project Life Design, maybe you can just, I don't know, like, pop your questions there if the platform does allow. So signing out, my name is Lungi, or Lungile, and yeah, it was great to be on this show today. Bye. Have a wonderful day.